The next problem is that there is no distinction between hard and soft sciences.
Not to us. So
There's this idea that all of science can be boiled down to something as hard and tangible as physics. First of all, like we already said, even physics isn't really so hard because it doesn't actually answer any substantive questions about the nature of reality. All it does is just play with symbols and pointer readings and various models. So even physics is not as hard as you think it is. It's a game of avoiding the real issues. But see, physics is a very artificial example because physics, contrary to popular belief, physics is actually like the easiest science to do. The hard sciences are actually the easiest sciences. It's the softer sciences which are the harder ones.
Soft or hard.
When you're studying human psychology,
Less things
that's
are defined.
hard. When you're studying atoms, that's easy. You think, building a particle collider is hard? Yeah, I mean, it's hard, of course. Costs billions of dollars, but in the end, that's easy. Easy. Cake compared to studying human psychology and understanding what drives human behavior. That's way more complex. And it's equally valid as a science. There's this sort of mistake that many scientists and rational people, these sort of overly rational people, they get stuck in this idea that everything can be boiled down to just physics. Again, it's the reductionism problem we talked about in part 1 and part 2. But there's this sort of idea that the hard sciences are more real and more objective than the soft sciences. And therefore, sciences like psychology, sociology, anthropology, even political science, these things, oftentimes, they're ridiculed in universities as not even being real sciences. It's like the real sciences are considered to be mathematics, physics, chemistry, even biology. Some people will say it's kind of like a bullshit. There's more room for bullshit there. It's more fuzzy. But again, this is a methodological bias. You see, there's nothing in the universe that says that atoms are more real or more primary than human psychology, or than sociology, or than political science. The idea that, but Leo, human psychology can just be boiled down to atoms, or that, political science, all of it is just atoms and physics.
Can be. It's the filter you have, though.
This is a myth.
This is your lens.
This is a convenient myth
bringing everything
that
back
was
to
invented
physics.
by physicists in order to justify, of course, that physics is superior to all the other sciences.
Yep. Physics is the foundation of our reality if you have that lens. And your mind is the foundation of reality if you have that lens. And of course, politics is the foundation if you have that lens. And language is the foundation if you have a different lens. You can change it as you like, based on whatever lens you want to put on top of it. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Which, of course, is complete self-bias. The only reason you think that is because, again, all you have is a hammer and everything looks like a nail. Likewise, mathematicians also fall into this trap. They tend to want to reduce all of reality down to math.
Equations.
And they think, political science can just be boiled down to statistics, and then human psychology can just be boiled down to some sort of equations or something. And that really, it's math that is the true science. No, it's not.
What's the foundation, Leo?
If you think that math is some sort of ultimate explainer of reality, that's only because that's the method you're good at. That's the method you were taught, and you know no other method.
Yes.
Again,
yes.
When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes.
So this distinction between hard and soft sciences, this is pure myth, pure fantasy. There is no such distinction. And in fact, some of the most important sciences are the soft sciences. They're some of the most difficult sciences to do. They require a very, very intuitive, holistic mind. Whereas in physics, you can be kind of very autistic when you're doing physics.
Jesus.
You can be very, analytical.
Yes.
With how you do physics, but even there, of course, not fully.
It's funny because he's kind of doing the same. He's almost exactly doing the same thing that he's dismissing or criticizing, right? The idea that there is no distinction between hard and soft sciences. There are distinctions between hard and soft sciences, but what Leo is saying specifically is if you look at higher resolution, there is no distinction. The distinction is in this low resolution view of the world, which is the typical view that most people have, most scientists I will say have. this resolution sees that, but in a higher resolution, that distinction doesn't exist, and the higher resolution is a better resolution. That's what he's saying. That's sort of the baggage, or to get to the abstracted layer of what he's saying, to get rid of all the content that's the structure of the argument that he's making. And that's the same thing that physicists do, right? They say, like, biology, I mean, yeah, sort of, but you can boil biology down to chemistry. So chemistry is really, that's chemistry. But then you can boil down chemistry to physics. So yeah, chemistry, not physics. That's it. And it's the same issue. You have a higher resolution. And you're saying that the highest resolution is the more important resolution. And of course, the higher resolution in the way that you care to increase your resolution. You care to increase your resolution only in the sense of physics, in the physical reality. You can increase your resolution in the sense of mental, cognitive, not even cognitive, but experiential things or whatever. So Leo's increasing resolution experientially and saying there's no distinction between hard and soft sciences. And then he's going on about this. Soft sciences they're valuable too because they're difficult. That's not the way, but whatever. He's doing that, and that's the same thing that the physicists are doing. So be careful there. Higher resolution is not always better. It's not necessarily better.
But when you're dealing with the soft sciences, you have to really expand your definitions of what science is in order to approach these softer aspects of reality.
Yep.
And just because the aspect of reality is soft or emotional or fuzzy doesn't make it any less real.
It doesn't.
The fuzzy, soft stuff is as real as the hardest physical stuff.
And unfortunately, there's just this weird sort of bias, even with the definition of hard and soft science, right? Emotions can be very, very, very precise, and your experience can be very, very precisely defined. And that can be extremely hard in that sense, right? It can be very, very, very technical and very, 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 I'll just stick with precise. You can do it very precisely. And the issue is that the people who are defining hard and soft sciences are just bad at emotions or bad at the sort of broader view, which is what he's talking about right now. It's getting beyond the sort of very, very technical definitions of what particles are in physics, and it makes it very, very easy, clear to understand, super logical, whatever. And since these guys don't have a very good understanding of emotions, they say that, well, the emotions are fuzzy. No, you're just not good at it. You can get more precision, you can get more clarity with your emotions. Do that better, and then you'll say that once you do that, you can have this framework of saying that the emotional field is the real, that's the hard field, and the logic, that's the fuzzy, that's the soft field, because that boils down ultimately to your emotions. And you see the issue here. It depends on what your lens is. Silliness, such a silliness. We got to get over that language.
It's just a different kind of real.
Yes.
And you have to be careful with your method being too biased towards the hard stuff as opposed to the soft stuff. Because if you were truly being neutral, as you should as a scientist, then you should not put anything on a pedestal above anything else. You shouldn't put atoms on a pedestal above human psychology or human emotions or political science or anthropology or whatever. Because all of these soft things are just as real as atoms. And in fact, I can make a case that they're more real than atoms.
Yep.
Atoms are a fiction. Atoms are completely imaginary according to quantum mechanics.
Yeah, you can very easily just change the foundational lens and completely make everything mind created or emotional created or whatever the heck. Yep. Super easy to do.
As are strings, as are quarks, and anything else that you want to ground reality in, it's all imaginary. There's nothing hard about it. This is a myth.
Yep.
Of course, there's also no distinction possible between the natural, the supernatural, the normal, and the paranormal. This is a huge delusion within modern science.
Again, there is no distinction at the highest resolution in terms of experience. But again, we don't want to be tripped up by a particular high resolution in the same way that the physicists are.
The term supernatural and paranormal. These are completely relative terms. And these terms change with the times. And science is constantly moving the goalposts with these terms. What's considered normal today and natural today, and what's considered supernatural and paranormal today, this will all change 100 years from now.